Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the core principles of an absolute classic in personal finance, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Look, if you've ever felt completely stuck in the daily grind and you want to know how the wealthy actually build true, lasting financial independence, well, you're in exactly the right place. So let's just jump right into it.
Let me ask you something right off the bat. Why is your salary never enough? Do you ever feel like the exact moment your paycheck hits your bank account, it literally vanishes into this giant void of bills, payments, and just everyday living expenses? You work hard, right? Maybe you even score a raise, but somehow, at the end of the month, you're right back exactly where you started. It's an incredibly frustrating problem, and honestly, we've all been there. But today, we're going to figure out how to solve it.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. Number 1, the rat race. Number 2, two money mindsets. Number 3, assets versus liabilities. Number 4, putting money to work. And finally, number 5, starting financial education. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the trap, better known as the rat race. Kiyosaki famously calls this the rat race. And, society basically tells us this is the normal path. It goes like this. You study hard to get a good job. You finally collect that super exciting first salary. And then what happens next? Well, you immediately start upgrading your lifestyle. You buy a nice car, then maybe you take on a massive mortgage for a house. Then kids come along, and before you know it, you've racked up this never-ending list of expenses and debts. You're basically locked in a cage, like a rat, spinning endlessly on a wheel that's going absolutely nowhere. The crazy part? The harder you work and the more you earn, the more you end up spending.
Moving right along to Section 2, the paradigm shift, focusing on two mindsets.
So, on one side of this equation, we have Kiyosaki's biological father, who he calls his poor dad. Now, his philosophy was totally standard. Go to school, get a secure job, and work tirelessly for a paycheck. In other words, you spend your entire life as an employee, literally trading your precious time for dollars. But on the flip side is the father of his best friend, the rich dad. His paradigm was a complete 180. The rich dad taught that you absolutely should not work for money. Instead, you have to make money work for you. The end goal isn't to be the best employee in the company. The goal is to become an owner. It's this massive, fundamental shift from active, grinding labor to strategic ownership.
Which brings us to Section 3, the core mechanic, assets versus liabilities.
What's really brilliant about this is just how practical it is. Seriously, forget all those complicated, boring accounting terms. Kiyosaki defines an asset incredibly simply. An asset is everything that puts money in your pocket. Period. That's it. Whether you're working at your desk or fast asleep in your bed, an asset is something you hold or invest in that continuously generates income or predictably goes up in value over time. It is literally depositing cold, hard cash into your pocket. According to the source material, if you genuinely want to build wealth, you need to zero in on these targets. We're talking about real estate that generates monthly rent, or stocks and bonds that pay out regular, reliable dividends and interest. Or maybe businesses that run entirely on their own, meaning they don't need you there managing them every single day. Even intellectual property that kicks back passive royalties. When truly wealthy people make acquisitions, this is exactly what they're buying. Things that generate continuous, real value.
On the flip side, we have liabilities. And a liability is the exact opposite of an asset. A liability is everything that takes money out of your pocket. It's essentially a constant, recurring drain on your hard-earned financial resources.
Okay, here is where Kiyosaki completely challenges conventional wisdom and drops a major truth bomb. Ready for it? Your personal home is not an asset. Actually, it is a liability. I know. This goes against literally everything we are traditionally taught growing up. But think about it using his very own definition. A personal home takes money out of your pocket every single month. You've got maintenance costs, property taxes, insurance, and of course, those hefty mortgage payments. It doesn't put money in your pocket, it drains it. Understanding this one single distinction, it changes absolutely everything about how you view your financial decisions.
All right, let's move into Section 4, the execution, putting your money to work.
First off, we need to completely redefine our goal here. How do you measure true wealth? Well, most people measure wealth by, the size of their salary, or the luxury brand of their car, or how much square footage they have in their house. But remember what we talked about earlier. A massive salary really just means you're running faster on the rat wheel if your expenses are rising right along with it.
So, The absolutely crucial takeaway here is this wildly powerful metric from Kiyosaki. Wealth is measured by the number of days you can live off the income from your assets. Let that sink in for a second. You achieve true, unshakable financial independence the exact moment your monthly passive income, the cash coming from your real estate, your stocks, your businesses, completely covers all of your monthly living expenses. At that magical point, you literally do not have to work another day in your life unless you actually want to, because your money is doing all the heavy lifting for you.
Let's wrap things up with Section 5, the escape route, your financial education.
Okay, so here are the actual actionable steps to break out of that cage we talked about. Step 1, control your expenses through a strict budget. You really have to know exactly where your money is going and ruthlessly cut that unnecessary drain of liabilities. Step 2, master financial intelligence. Look, this stuff isn't taught in traditional schools, so you have to proactively read, train, and study how markets, real estate, and investments actually work. And step 3, use those newly controlled expenses and your fresh financial knowledge to go out and acquire income-generating assets. You buy assets, those generate income, and then you use that income to buy even more assets. It's a beautiful cycle. But as the source material makes super clear, none of these mechanical steps matter even a little bit without the right internal drive. Having the true desire to be rich is the crucial starting point. Honestly, if you don't genuinely want financial freedom badly enough to change your daily habits, to say no way to that shiny new liability, and to spend your weekends actually learning about investments instead of just binge-watching TV, well, the mechanics simply won't work for you. At the end of the day, your attitude and your underlying beliefs are what ultimately drive your actions.
Which brings us to the end of our journey today. I really want to leave you with this final, vital question. What is the very first step you will take today toward your own financial independence? Seriously, will you finally sit down and write out that budget, or maybe pick up a book on dividend stocks? The path is laid out right in front of you. It is time to stop running endlessly on that wheel and start building your asset column. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I absolutely can't wait to explore more fascinating concepts with you next time.